When do you stop playing a game? Is it after winning or is it after losing? Yes. Welcome to 21 Days, 21 Stories from the Mahabharata. This is Meera here on Copy and Conversation. Day 14. The dice when never about the dice. I would say it's a game beneath the game. Let me also ask you this question. What game are you playing? Well, today's story it is not about the game alone. It's about dice. Or it isn't too. Because sometimes what we see people fighting over is rarely what they are actually fighting about. Can you relate to what I'm sharing with Pandavas and Kauravas? Pandavas losing to Kauravas, or rather to Shakuni, in the game of dice, right? Was it only at that particular moment in the middle of the court, or it was always right from the childhood? That's what I'm telling you, that what people see, what we see people fighting over is rarely what they're actually fighting about. The argument isn't about the message. The silence isn't about the phone call. The anger actually, it isn't about the forgotten birthday also. And the competition isn't about the promotion. The dice were never about the dice. When we remember Shakuni, most of us remember the game of dice. Of course, even to date, when we play the game of dice at home, the first name that comes out is Shakuni. It's something like, someone who wants to win. For a second, even if they dislike this character from Mahabharata, hey Shakuni, I hope you can help me win this game. So much is the association of dice with Shakuni. Most of us remember, the game of dice, the gambling hall, the challenge, the manipulation, and the fall of relationships. But I often wonder, did Shakuni wake up one morning thinking, today I shall play a game? Or had he been playing that game inside himself for years? I just wish he's sitting next to me and listening to what I'm sharing. Not the kind of the same Shakuni that you saw in Mahabharata, but a different Shakuni today, right? Could be he's there in the same attire, or you want to just dress him the way you would love to in today's that Smari avatar. Let me just ask him, like, hey Shakuni, I mean, you play the game of dice. When you wake up in the morning, do you think that I'm just gonna play the game? Or had it always been that you've been playing that game in your mind? Just imagine Shakuni responding to you. Meera, it is not just one day that I was playing. You saw me in Mahabharata playing physically this game. I used to play with myself also. I just imagine have an opponent sitting next to me or opposite me. I would play my part. And as the dice roll, when I have to you move the coins on the board, I would imagine what the other person might play. And if he plays this, I need to move the coin the other side. And for that to happen, I need to have a calculation in my mind that my dice has to give me only this number. I wouldn't call this as a manipulation. You guys have been talking it about law of attraction, vision, and all those things. I did this several years ago. I want to win. I just woke up every morning, not about winning the game, but about mastering the dice. About mastering the dice that it gives me the number that I want. Can you not play that game for your own betterment? Why do you always keep pulling me in from Mahabharata and say because of me all those things happen? Come on, Meera. Just imagine Shakuni talking like this to you. I mean, I would definitely imagine because he's of course one of my favorite character. So many things that I learn in my life, like where he implemented for what he did is definitely considered as wrong because it definitely brought about destruction, calamity, so many things. But if we look at a different perspective, I definitely have a separate story to share on that also. Like I would say, Shakuni is a game built, or rather, it's a game built from memories. A game built from hurt. A game where every move was waiting for that right moment. The dice simply became visible in front of our eyes. The game had started much earlier. I mean, like you want to run a marathon, you don't just wake up this morning and say, I'm going to take part in that event. Well, its exceptions are there. You might go and win about it, but that will not continue. You want to take part in marathon. Marathon in itself means taking that continuous step every day. You want to go about, mountaineering or trekking. You visualize in your mind that you've just, you're climbing the mountain. I wouldn't say conquer the mountain because mountain to me is an experience. It's a divine. To experience mountain through trekking, all of a sudden you don't buy all those stuffs, and wear the mountaineering or trekking attire and you just start climbing up. You keep thinking about it, you keep visualizing about it, but you also get trained about it, right? That's exactly the game of dice. We think games begin on the table, but they actually don't. They begin quietly. Inside every conversation we never finish, inside those disappointments we never express, and inside those comparisons we never question, inside those old wounds we never visit. By the time the world notices our behavior, the game has already been running for years. I would say the games we play, not every game has a dice. Some games have silence. Since when I started this 21 days, 21 stories, Mahabharata, there are two words that stuck to me. And when I revisit the podcast that I document and then I go about recording, silence and quiet are these two words. They have become so much part of me, like two sides of a coin, inseparable. So many things in our life doesn't happen all of a sudden. The frustration, the stress, whatever we call it, as even the winning for that matter. It's several years, several hours, several sleepless nights, several early morning waking up hours of quiet effort that shows a loud impact in the form of an outcome later. Um, Not every game, like I was mentioning, has dice. Some games have that silence. I want call first. You know? Some games have distance. I will wait until they apologize. Like some games are about perfection. If I never make mistakes, no one can reject me. Some games are associated with the achievement. If I keep succeeding, they'll finally value me. Yeah, they'll finally value me. Some games have that generosity. I will keep giving. Maybe someday they will understand and they'll love me. Every game has that difficult rules. Oh, sorry, different rules. But almost all of them have one thing in common. We stop noticing that we are playing. Imagine this. Have you ever played chess with someone who already knew 10 moves ahead? You're thinking about one move, they are thinking about the 10th one. Life becomes exhausting when we begin treating every conversation like a strategy. Then, that every smile, when you smile, it gets analyzed. Every sentence becomes suspicious, and every silence becomes meaningful. Soon, we are no longer living, we are calculating. We gotta calculate, I don't deny the fact. But we need to know the game that we are playing. How much do we know about the games? We understand the game, but we don't stick to the rules of the games. We understand, for that matter, even the rocket science, but how capable is such a strong word. How much do we know that we can send the rocket into the orbit? Understanding is different. Shakuni's dice, perhaps the dice themselves were ordinary. A wood, numbers on it, and it was all about a chance. But in Shakuni's hands, they became something else. Because objects are rarely dangerous. The story we attach to them often is the same word spoken by two different people can feel completely different. Not because of the word, because of the story we carry already, because of the tone they use, because of the way they speak, because of the body language, because how their eyes pop out, or what kind of a comfort the eyes gives while talking. In today's world, our eyes have changed. It is notifications, office meetings, family gatherings. Family gatherings are a very big dice game. I know you would imagine about those uncles and auntie or anyone far off all of a sudden who only shows up during the family gathering and I keep asking you questions. What are you doing? Right? Well, and how come social media can we leave it? Right? And those neighborhood conversations, gossips, school reunions, of late school reunions, more than catching up, it is to catch up. Hey, what are you doing? What were you doing? What did you do? I mean, it's a gossip mentality that we operate. Some people don't attend these places, they enter the battlefield. Not because others declared the war, because their inner game never ended. A small story like imagine two children playing with the building blocks. One child builds a tower, the other accidentally knocks it down. The first child laughs, let's build again. The another child at home has same tower knocked over. This time there are tears, anger, blame. Why? The blocks were the same, the fall was the same, but the meaning was different. Sometimes our reactions tell us more about yesterday than about today. That's why I call it we are beyond reactions through our storytelling. What happens is games become the identities. The strange thing about long games is that we begin protecting them. Someone would offer a peace, we refuse. Someone offers understanding, we would doubt them. Someone genuinely apologizes. We remain unconvinced. Because if the game ends, who are we without it? Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for 20 years. One day someone says, you can put it down. Instead of relief, you feel uncomfortable. Who are you to tell me that? Because you've forgotten how to walk without that weight. And old games become familiar even when they make us tired. We're used to that pattern, operating in that pattern. The brain is used to such a pattern that we know we keep losing. But there is a comfort, a cushion that we've been carrying, that cushion which is rotting, that cushion which is torn, that cushion which is stinking. But still, in the name of comfort, we keep carrying that. Similarly, is the game of dice. A game of dice is something that we play every second, or we are in that game. Can we play with the same old cushion? It takes a lot for the brain to understand, but it does understand. Winning, let me talk about the winning. It's an interesting thing. Sometimes people win the game and still feel empty because they discover something unexpected. The victory they imagined cannot repair what they lost while trying to achieve it. Yeah. Oh, you want to hear that? I would say that again. The victory, actually, what they imagined, cannot repair what they lost while trying to achieve it. That's exactly what happened right in the end of Mahabharata war. Pandava's victory. How much could they celebrate about it? Was it not exhausting for them that though they won the game, they know both the side what kind of a loss they've had. They know what they lost while trying to achieve that victory. Relationships, trust, peace, joy. These are difficult to recover after years of strategy. Winning a game doesn't always mean winning life. I remember someone telling mountaineering. That's when I was giving that example. You don't conquer the mountain, you don't climb the mountain. Initially, when we start the uphill journey, we want to conquer the mountain or we want to climb that mountain. But only when we climb up, we realize the journey, the hardships, but we still continue again. But it's an experience. With a game of dice, also, can we slightly flip it to experiencing the mountain? Every step you take is a game of dice that you play. You're climbing up the mountain. You know either you reach the top of the mountain or you fall. You also know that after reaching the top, whether will you return while descending, we don't know. After reaching down, when you look at the mountain, you realize The mountain has always been the same. There's something inside of you, doesn't change, awakens. There is something inside you which was echoing. Now it is just showing you what is silence all about. Game of dice. It's just not about just winning and winning and winning. Because you might roll the dice 10 times, but the victory is in one or two times only. But you lose all the 7 to 8 times for that one or two victory. And after victory, is it an achievement or I leave it to you? As I was sharing, I just realized that I had literally closed my eyes because that's what the nature is. Because nature gives you so many things. Looking at ourselves today, don't think about Shakuni, think about yourself. What conversation are you replaying every day? Whom are you still trying to defeat? Which memory keeps deciding your present? Where have you confused protection with living? Where have you confused planning with trusting? And perhaps the most important question, what game have you become so good at that you have forgotten why you started playing? Maybe life isn't asking us to become more clever. Maybe it is asking us to become more aware, to notice the invisible board, to notice the rules we have written for ourselves, the notice to notice the score we keep counting because once we notice the game, we finally have a choice. We can continue playing or we can quietly stand up from the table. Perhaps freedom doesn't begin when we win. It begins when we no longer need the game. Because peace rarely arrives after the final move. It often arrives when we realize the dice were never deciding our life. It was we who were deciding. I'm not telling you don't show up. I'm not telling you don't be part of the game. But when you know, when you're conscious, your intuition, or when your gut, or when you yourself know, when you are playing that game, what are you becoming? What are you becoming? Thank you for joining me today. See you soon in the next episode of Copy and Conversation. We meet another character tomorrow or in the next episode. Yes, we'll be meeting another character from the Mahabharata. It's another story, another mirror. Until then, before you make your next move, pause for a moment and gently ask yourself, am I responding to this moment or am I still playing an old game?